Tonight's discussion is about our new publication on economic growth, authored by my colleagues Dr. Eric Crampton and Janisa Jerem. The book explains why we believe economic growth is good for us in many ways. We then want to explore what role economic growth should play in policy making. Is it the one defining goal of politics, or is it just one among many competing objectives? Or should we discard it as a goal altogether?
As the global economy changes and the tyranny of economic distance seems to be worsening rather than improving, agglomeration matters, it's even more important that New Zealand stop its complacence about economic growth and productivity growth. Growth is good, and when we choose policies that come at a cost to growth, well, if we're going to do it, we should do it with our eyes wide open and in full recognition of the cost that's going to impose in the future.
And the case for economic growth was put out in the New Zealand Initiative publication. I think it makes the case pretty well. Look, for me, the basic point is that economic growth gives us choices. Economic growth has made us wealthier and healthier. As we've got richer, child mortality has dropped and we're living longer, we can spend more in healthcare, we can invest more in education. Economic growth gives us the ability to redistribute our resources to those who need it most. To the poor, to the sick, to the indigent, to those who can't care for themselves. But you've got to have a growing economy to do that in the first place. We have a highly redistributive welfare system in New Zealand, and that creates social justice.
If you accept economic growth as a good thing, and I think there is a burden of proof on those who don't, we will agree on much of what's required in a democracy to ensure it continues. We want enforceable property rights, strong rule of law, well-regulated markets. We might disagree on what that means, but we will want them. Demonstrable social mobility, a high trust society, and a good education system for starters. We'll debate how best to get there, and we already are, but I don't think that any of us will disagree that greater prosperity holds the potential for a better society.
I'm going to say this out loud. I do not deny the material benefits that rising incomes have produced over the last few centuries. I am not opposed to growth in and of itself. The idea, the notion that you can have an economy in which there is a steady state of material and energy throughput through the economy. So it does seem that it may be possible to get to a situation where you can have economic growth and our running up or running past environmental, planetary limits isn't necessarily totally tied to that thing.